What would you do if you had one day left to live? If I were to answer that question, I'd say I'd spend the time with my husband, Jonathan. Maybe we'd sit in the backyard of our house that we built together and drink coffee together one last time. But there's one other thing I would do. I would create this video. This one. The one you're watching now. Because when the bombs drop, I would want there to be a record that we got this far. Edificare pugnare ut pugnarne edificabo. As I promised to celebrate 30,000 subs in 3 years, I'm going to tell you why men's rights is a hidden gem. Before I get into it, here's an update on the Badger Cave fundraiser. We're 8 days from the end and we have quite a ways to go. Also, it looks like I need to clear up some confusion. I have 2 options for funding. If we can get 35% of the total cost of the Badger Cave, if the fundraiser is successful, I can get a commercial loan. Otherwise, I have to put up my house as collateral. Those are my 2 options. I apologize for the lack of time. My banker made a mistake about how much I would have to put down to get a loan. I originally thought it would be 10%, and I made an offer of purchase 2 weeks ago under that impression. Despite this, I'm going forward with the purchase. This is a really great deal, folks, and we need to start making things real. If you don't feel like now's the time to help Honey Badger Radio, I'd appreciate it if you told me why in the comments below, and be honest with me. I want objections that, when answered, would leave you with no reason left not to donate, or just simply say you don't want to help. Because even a donation of $5 makes a difference. $5 is one step closer. Imagine if we were $5 from the goal and you gave that last $5 to get us over. But if you think about it, every $5 is that last $5 that gets us over the total. Graz writes, "Don't risk your home over this. If you want to sacrifice disposable income, I applaud you, but risking your house is madness. In the long run, if you cannot raise the funds to sustain this venture month to month, sacrificing your house only delays the failure. Be well and cheers." I'm sorry, Graz. I'm okay with failing. I'm okay with failing and not getting the Badger Cave because everyone listening was too afraid to take this next step. I'm not okay with failing because I was too afraid to take this next step. If you want to help out, you can help out with the down payment here or the monthly payments here. September 1st is the deadline for getting funding in place, so please help make this a reality. In high school, one of my teachers told me, "You can't just go into science to make up for everything that women haven't accomplished." That's an odd thing to say to a kid, but the reason why she said this was because I felt like I had to make up the difference somehow. I had to do something to prove that women could achieve great things. I don't think men realize the profound insecurity many women have. We see what men have built and created and maintained, and we feel like our worth is, well, the worth of any other female animal, being a brood sow. Feminism is seductive that way. It gives women an escape from a sense of inferiority. It allows them to excuse their lack of attainment on an invisible, oppressive miasma that men just give up because of their supreme, godlike mental abilities, while pretending simultaneously to believe that women would be better than men if it weren't for this evil, masculine aura permeating everything. Personally, I've never really suffered from a lack of confidence myself, or rather, confidence doesn't apply. Problems are jobs that need doing. Whether or not you're capable to the task is irrelevant. The fact that there exists a job that needs doing is the only thing that matters. However, while I've never lacked for drive as a person, I've always seen being female as something of a handicap. And feminism never gave me an answer that satisfied me as to why women didn't achieve. If men really have the power to change women's thoughts, why wouldn't they use that power to stop women from achieving? Why would they use that power to stop women from achieving rather than stop women from expecting them to jump through so many hoops in order to date them? It doesn't make any sense. Not only do I have to believe in the absolute omnipotence of men, but I also have to believe that they're profoundly stupid. And the women would be so much better than men if only men didn't oppress them so. Like all threat narrative mental snarls, this one falls to pieces the moment you ask why. Why do men want to stop women from achieving just so they have to jump through achievement hoops to please women? Why do women allow men to oppress them if they have the tools to end it? History is won by the most cooperative, except in the case of women, who are more cooperative than men but never seem to be able to cooperate against them. So I was struck with that sense of feminine inferiority and no real way to resolve it. If you look at the men's news group from 2003, I even referenced my search when I told a feminist who berated and insulted me when I explained how betrayed I felt by feminism in regards to fighting for the vote but not the draft. I said this: I know there must be something good about women, but you and feminism just make me feel worse about being one. For a long time I struggled with that question. There must be something good about women. And I can't say I found an answer until recently. A real answer, one that satisfied me. Now, to get to that answer, we have to start with the Bronze Age. Actually, we have to start with the dark times after the Bronze Age empires fell, when the world was in turmoil. Imagine you're a farmer during that turbulent time. You've managed to eke out a living despite the near constant raids and violence. You've inherited a few worn bronze tools from your grandfather's time, and stories of faraway cities with stone walls higher than mountains, and stone harbors like man-made cliffs slicing into the sea. Imagine you've lived your entire life in a thatched hut, hoping to hell the raiders don't find you, taking your mule and Travis down the game trail past your hut to the dirt road that takes you to the nearest village to sell your wares. Each time you go, the Travis gets stuck in mud holes, and by the time you get to the village, your produce is wilted and covered in dirt. But everyone else's produce is in exactly the same shape, so you don't even think to worry about it. Now imagine one day, after pulling your Travis out of mind-numbing number of mud-filled ruts, you find that the game trail ends not at a dirt road, but at a river of stone that flows as far as the eye can see. You stand on this impossible thing that just appeared one day. At first, fearing some evil magic, you just watch it. And then you notice a farmer from one of the nearby huts walking towards you on this marvel, and you ask him, "Where did this come from?" "The Romans built it," he says, and points to the south. "Oh," you reply, and not wanting to sound like a country bumpkin, you think of the stories of the massive walled city-states. Scuff your sandal against a flagstone, and you say, "Nice stonework. How far does it go?" 400 miles, the other farmer says with a shrug. At that, you nearly choke, but you cough to hide it. At that, you nearly choke, but you cough to hide it. 400 miles. But it doesn't end there, the other farmer continues. There are 29 great highways and many more connecting the provinces of Rome. He pauses a moment as if to recall a bit of information. I was told many tens of thousands of miles in total, paved just like this. At that you stop short, your mind flooding with horror. That's a lie! Not even the gods could do such a thing. The farmer stops to look at you, brow drawn. The farmer stops to look at you, brow drawn. I watched the road built. It was men who did it, just like you and me, no different. Seeing your confusion and horror, he scratches his chin and adds, "But a great many men, to be sure." What the farmer says only makes it worse. It was inconceivable when you thought it was the gods who had laid that much road. Now he's saying it was men? Impossible. What kind of magic could get so many men to work together at such a scale? You've never, ever imagined tribes and tribes and tribes of men, not fighting, but working. You step backwards, groping for your mule's harness to steady you. The other farmer watches you struggle with concern, as if to give you something to ground you, something you can relate to. He points to his own Travis. "Look, my onions and celery are clean. No dust on this road." The Romans had laid down 80,000 kilometers of paved road at the height of their power. To give you a sense of scale, that's twice the circumference of the earth. In addition to that, they created another 320,000 kilometers of graded dirt road. All total, the road system could wrap around the earth 10 times. We didn't achieve comparable quality roads until about 200 years ago, 2 centuries. We only achieved a comparable system of roads 85 years ago, in the 1930s. There are a lot of theories about why Rome fell. Lead pipes, barbarians at the gate, feminism. But no one has ever proposed this theory. Rome never fell. Someone scoffed at me talking about Rome during a stream recently because I'm obviously not genetically Roman or Italian. Point of fact, I have Gallic and Celtic ancestry. But while my genes might be Northern European, my mimetic heritage is solidly Roman, just like yours, if you're listening to this in the West. We love to depict the Romans as bloodthirsty, decadent conquerors. Apparently because we're still butthurt that we had our asses whooped. And yet most of our legislative and legal structures are based on the Roman model. So we're butthurt, but we haven't really managed to come up with anything better than Roman Iron Age statecraft. Modified and retrofitted to be sure, but still obviously Roman. You know how in science fiction advanced race beings transcend physical form and become energy? Our roads, our alphabet, our city names, our architecture, our laws and legislature, our spiritual faith. Rome didn't die. It evolved into an aspiration. It inspired Western civilization, and Western civilization brought the whole world together. In fact, when we want to state something fundamental about our intentions, our aspirations, our goals, we still do it in Latin to give it greater gravitas and meaning. Cities, military corps, government institutions, sports team, they all use Latin mottos to rally behind. We take our mottos and we make them Latin, and they become aspirational incantations. Edificare, pugnare, ut pugnare nidificamo. In that sense, Rome conquered North and South America not as an army, but as an aspiration, an ideal. Did you ever wonder where the American eagle came from? But where did Rome come from? Sometime in the 8th century BC, 2 men named Romulus and Remus, after some business killing a usurping uncle and bringing a rightful king to the throne, stumbled upon a location with 7 hills on one side and a river on the other. This was most likely just one of many moments like it throughout history where a bunch of landless men with no prospects managed to stumble on a place no one wants and say, okay, this'll do. As locations go, the location of Rome was sort of shit. Most cities were at intersections of great trade routes or rose majestically from the waters of the Mediterranean Ocean. Rome was a bit of a scrub in comparison. It was a third-rate location for a city, landlocked, although it was on the intersection of 3 rivers. It was good land, though. Good land for growing things. Rome never really was location, location, location. It was made astounding because of the statecraft it produced. And maybe that's the point. It's easy to be a world power if you squat on a world-class location. You have to dig a lot deeper to be a world power from a near-random spot in the middle of the country. You have to distinguish yourself in some other way. You have to develop your power base in an unconventional manner. And that's what the Romans did. Before the Roman Empire, there was a golden age of palatial majesty. Immensely wealthy and powerful city-states dominated the region and its trade, sending out armies clad and armed in bronze to defend and enforce their interests. Yet in the span of a few centuries, the center of human civilization in the West went from immensely powerful city-states on the shores of the Mediterranean to a landlocked provincial scrub of a town. How? In the Bronze Age, armies came from cities, because bronze came from cities, from centers of trade. Tin was hard to come by, and tin is essential for bronze. The Bronze Age city-states subjugated their surrounding countryside brutally. They were one massively wealthy and powerful tribe enforcing its identity on everyone else. And they could do that from the power base of a city-state, because bronze was the source of armies, and cities were the source of bronze. The land, on the other hand, is the source of iron. All you need to know is how to work it. But it wasn't iron that brought bronze to its knees, it was the fragility of their trade-based statecraft. Bronze Age empires, because they relied so much on trade, relied on each other for their power. So when one fell, they all did. within the span of one human lifetime. When the trade ceased, so did the bronze. All around the world, people had to scramble for an alternative. Iron was that alternative to bronze. Iron is plentiful. It's everywhere, just like copper, which is another component of bronze. But unlike copper, iron doesn't need tin, which is rare, to harden into a weapon. Iron is harder to work, harder to make work, but iron only needs carbon to harden into a weapon. And like iron, carbon is everywhere. Burn a stick, and you have carbon. By the time those Bronze Age cities crawled their way back to a fraction of their former glory, the land was in the grip of iron. You could no longer sit on your trade route choke points, sending out mercenaries armed with the material only cities could produce. In the Iron Age, armies could spring up from the land itself. Bronze Age statecraft was not equipped to deal with the democratizing realities of Iron Age technology, and we had turmoil. Other species occupy a niche. Our niche is our flexible relationship with the land. As we change the character of the land changes our character. Somehow, unconsciously, instinctively, or maybe even consciously, the Romans knew a new deal had to be struck between the state and the land. If the land can make soldiers, then you must make the land your army.